The life of Lord Sariputta. Foremost in wisdom, in the Buddha's dispensation, 2 disciples stood as pillars of the Sangha, one unmatched in wisdom, the other in psychic power. Today we explore the life of the first Venerable Sariputta, declared by the Buddha himself as foremost among disciples in wisdom, Attadagavaga, Anguttara Nikaya. His journey from a brilliant Brahmin youth to the Dhamma's supreme general reveals how clarity, friendship, and the right teacher can lead directly to the deathless.
Long ago, near Rājagaha, in a village called Upatiṣya, also known as Nalaka, lived a boy named Upatiṣya. His mother was Sari, and his family, the Vanna clan, was immensely wealthy. They possessed 500 city cotis of riches and were deeply respected in the region. He had 3 brothers, Kunda, Upatiṣya, and Rivata, and 3 sisters, Kala, Upatala, and Sisupatala. Not far away in Kolatama lived his closest friend, Kolita, son of Magali. Their families had been bound in friendship for 7 generations. As youths, they studied together, traveled together, and even attended the grand annual festival at Jiraga Samaja, where crowds gathered on a hilltop to celebrate music, dance, and spectacle. But one year, amid the laughter and applause, both felt a deep unease. The performers, the joy, the prizes, it all seemed fleeting. Everyone here will die within 100 years. Upatiṣya realized, what is the point of this if it ends in death? Kolita felt the same. That moment sparked a solemn vow. Let us seek Mokkha Dhamma, the Dhamma that leads to liberation from birth, aging, sickness, and death. They left home with 500 attendants each and ordained under a wandering teacher named Saññā Kondañña. Though skilled in debate, Saññā taught only skeptical views, offering no path beyond doubt, no cause, no cessation, only endless questioning. After mastering his system, they asked him plainly, "Is this all?" When he replied, yes, they knew they had not found the deathless. So they made a pact: whichever of us first realizes the Aññā Dhamma, the deathless, must immediately tell the other. Then came the turning point. One morning in Rājagaha, Upatiṣya saw a monk walking with such calm grace and mindfulness that he knew, this one must be walking the path of an arahant. It was Assaji, one of the Buddha's first 5 disciples. After offering him water and a seat, Upatiṣya asked gently, "Who is your teacher? What is his teaching?" Assaji, humble and cautious, replied, "I am newly ordained, but I will share the essence." And he recited just 4 lines, the most famous verse in early Buddhism, Yadama Hitupabhava. Of all phenomena arising from causes, the Tathagata has declared their cause, and also their cessation. Thus teaches the great ascetic. Hearing this, Upatiṣya's mind was instantly purified. He attained Sotapati Phala, stream entry. The Dhamma Haku arose in him. Whatever is subject to arising is also subject to cessation. He knew, if this is possible, then full awakening must be too. He rushed to Kolita, repeated the verse, and Kolita too became a stream enterer, filled with urgency and compassion. Sariputta, for so he would now be known, returned to their former teacher and said respectfully, "Teacher, rejoice! The Dhamma has appeared in the world. The Buddha has arisen. The Sangha now shines as a refuge. Please come with me to the Blessed One. We have found the deathless." But Sangha now by pride refused. "I am already a teacher," he declared. "Everyone in this city knows my name. I will not go and become another student." Sariputta pleaded gently, "Do not think that way, teacher. Come with me to seek the deathless Dhamma. Your teaching has no core. It is not the true Dhamma." At this, Sangha now grew angry. Trying to assert his authority, he challenged, "Tell me, Sariputta, is it the wise who are plenty or the unwise?" Sariputta replied calmly, "Teacher, the wise are few, the unwise are plenty." Sangha now retorted bitterly, "Then let the wise go to the Buddha, and the unwise, who are many, will remain with me." Yet he could not stop them. Having gained the eye of Dhamma, Sariputta and Moggallana were beyond the reach of worldly reputation or attachment to views. They prepared to leave, and 250 of their followers chose to accompany them. When Sangha now saw his assembly emptying, his heart shattered. Overcome with grief, regret, and rage at having rejected the chance to hear the Buddha, he vomited blood. That very day, consumed by anger and remorse, he died. Meanwhile, Sariputta, Moggallana, and their 250 followers journeyed to Velavana Monastery, the first monastery, gifted by King Bimbisara, where the Buddha awaited them. With divine knowledge, the Buddha announced to the Sangha, "These 2 are coming. They will be my chief disciples." Sariputta foremost in wisdom, Moggallana foremost in psychic power. When they arrived, they bowed and asked for ordination. The Buddha simply said, Ihi bhikkhu, come bhikkhus, the Dhamma has been well proclaimed. Live the holy life for the complete ending of suffering. Instantly, through the Buddha's spiritual power, their robes and alms bowls appeared. In that moment, Upatiṣya became Sāriputta and the Dhamma gained its greatest expositor. As for Sangha-now's former dwelling, it was later repurposed as a residence for nuns, a quiet testament to how even places once clouded by wrong view can in time serve the path of liberation.
Sāriputta's story isn't just history, it's a mirror. It shows how punna from past lives ripens in the right conditions, a sincere search, a true friend, and above all, encounter with the authentic Dhamma. His wisdom didn't arise from isolation, but from humility, discernment, and the courage to abandon what's false. As the commentaries affirm in the Dhammapada-sakatha, Manoratha Purani, and Paramatha Jyotika, this account is rooted in the earliest records of the Sangha. And though centuries have passed, the path Sāriputta walked remains open to anyone who seeks, as he did, not entertainment, but truth.
May the qualities of the Buddha, the clarity of the Dhamma, and the harmony of the Sangha guide us all toward wisdom, peace, and the end of suffering.
After their ordination under the Buddha's own voice, come bhikkhus, Sāriputta and Mahamoggallana did not immediately attain full liberation. Their journey to arahantship unfolded in distinct rhythms, revealing a profound truth. Spiritual maturity is not measured by speed, but by depth. This episode draws from the Dighanaka Sutta, MN 74, the Dhammapada commentary, the Manoratha Purani, and the Upadana text that preserve both the historical moment of their awakening and the cosmic scope of their past aspirations. For as the Buddha declared, their roles as chief disciples were not acts of favoritism, but the ripening of punna cultivated over eons.
Right after their ordination at Veluvana Monastery, the Buddha gave a special teaching to the 250 followers who had come with Sāriputta and Mahamoggallana. That very day, all 250 became arahants, fully liberated from suffering. But Sāriputta and Mahamoggallana, not yet. From that moment on, they were no longer called Upatiṣya and Kolita. They became Sāriputta, son of Sari, and Mahamoggallana, great Moggallana, names that would echo through Buddhist history. 7 days after ordination, Mahamoggallana attained arahantship. His path was swift, powered by intense concentration and psychic mastery. But Sāriputta, he waited 15 days. On the 15th morning, he accompanied the Buddha to Sukarahata cave on Vulture Peak Mountain, near Rājagaha. There, a wandering ascetic named Dighanaka Agivesana, Sāriputta's own maternal cousin, approached the Buddha and declared boldly, "Venerable Gautama, nothing is agreeable to me. I reject everything." The Buddha gently replied, "If nothing is agreeable, even that view must be disagreeable to you. Why cling to rejection itself?" Then the Buddha taught the 3 kinds of views people hold. Everything is agreeable, nothing is agreeable, some things are agreeable, some are not. And then came the heart of the teaching, the 3 feelings, pleasant, painful, and neutral. All are impermanent, the Buddha said. All arise and pass away. When a wise person sees this clearly, disenchantment arises. From disenchantment comes dispassion, from dispassion liberation. Dighanaka listened, and his mind opened. He became a stream enterer, took refuge as a lay follower, and left with joy. But something even greater happened behind the scenes. Sāriputta was sitting quietly behind the Buddha, listening with full attention. As the Dhamma unfolded, his mind, already purified of wrong view, released the final taints. In that moment, he became an arahant. The commentaries describe it beautifully. It was like a servant preparing food for another, yet tasting just a drop and being completely satisfied. He didn't seek it, it arose naturally from deep understanding. Later, someone asked, if Sāriputta was truly foremost in wisdom, why did he take longer than Mahamoggallana to attain arahantship? The answer, because wisdom goes deeper. Just as a king cannot travel alone, he needs time to prepare his chariots, elephants, and royal regalia. So too, one of vast discernment takes longer to complete the final step. Not because he is slow, but because his mind investigates every layer of truth before letting go. Then came the great day, the full moon of Magha. At Veluvana, the Buddha gathered the fourfold assembly, monks, nuns, laymen, laywomen, and made a historic declaration. Because I appoint Sāriputta as my right-hand chief disciple, foremost in wisdom, and Mahamoggallana as my left-hand chief disciple, foremost in psychic power. Some monks protested, what about the Pankavagya, Yasa's group, the Kassapas? They ordained first. The Buddha responded with calm clarity, I do not choose out of favoritism, but in fulfillment of past aspirations. He explained, Aññā Kondañña had wished only to be first to awaken, not to lead. Yasa and his friends had focused on contemplating foulness, asoba in past lives. They sought liberation, not position. The Abhidhamma monks kept the 5 precepts faithfully, but never aspired to leadership. Uruvela Kassapa wished to have many followers, but not to be chief disciple. So who had made that aspiration? Long, long ago, under Anamadesi Buddha, over 100,000 great eons past, 2 friends named Sarada and Sariputta lived in a golden age. When Sarada's father died, he renounced the world, gathered 84,000 disciples, and mastered deep meditative attainments. One day, Anamadesi Buddha, radiant, 58 cubits tall, aura stretching 12 yojanas, descended from the sky and appeared before Sarada. Sarada recognized him instantly. He offered fruits, poured water, and prepared a seat. When his disciples returned and saw the Buddha's majesty, they were awestruck. Sarada humbled them. Do not compare me to the Buddha. It's like comparing Mount Sinai to a mustard seed. Then with devotion, Sarada arranged floral thrones, 1 yojana high for the Buddha, 3 gavutas for the chief disciples, smaller ones for the rest of the Sangha. Bowing deeply, he invited Anamadesi Buddha, please ascend this throne for the welfare of all beings throughout endless time. In that moment, Sarada made a solemn wish, may I become the right-hand chief disciple of a future Buddha. Sariputta, moved by faith, made the same for the left. And now, under Gautama Buddha, that aspiration bore fruit, not by chance, but by punna, patience, and unwavering resolve.
Closing reflection, Lord Sariputta's delayed arahantship wasn't a shortcoming, it was a testament. True wisdom doesn't rush, it examines, reflects, and releases only when fully seen. And their appointments as chief disciples, not privilege, but responsibility earned across lifetimes. As the Ittadhagga Atitsakatha and Abhidhamma confirm, the Buddha's Sangha operates not on seniority, but on the ripening of parami. In a world that glorifies speed, Lord Sariputta reminds us, the deepest truths unfold in stillness, and in a time when authentic Dhamma is rare, their story is a beacon showing that with the right conditions, even the highest attainments are possible.
May we, like Lord Sariputta and Lord Mahamoggalana, cultivate punna with sincerity, seek truth without pride, and one day through wisdom or compassion, contribute to the light of the Dhamma in this world.
The aspiration that shaped wisdom. How Lord Sariputta became Dhamma Senapati in the vast ocean of time, across countless lifetimes. One aspiration, pure, unwavering, and rooted in deep punna, shaped the destiny of the Buddha's foremost disciple in wisdom. This is not just a story of past lives. It is a revelation of how devotion, timing, and the perfection of insight converge under the guidance of a Buddha. Our sources, the Abhidhamma of the Khuddaka Nikaya, the Manoratha Purani commentary, the Mahavibhanga of the Vinaya Pitaka, and the Sela Sutta of the Majjhima Nikaya.
Today, we will walk with Sarada, an ascetic standing motionless for 7 days beneath a white floral parasol, not as a distant legend, but as someone whose choices echo in every sincere heart seeking truth. And you'll see why his friend Saripputta's response matters just as much. The offering that held time still. Picture this. Anamadesi Buddha seated on the highest seat. Around him, the Sangha arranges itself not by fame or power, but by seniority, a quiet testament to humility. And there, holding a Savana Chatra, a white floral parasol, stands Sarada. For 7 full days he doesn't eat, doesn't rest. His mind is flooded with rapture as the Buddha and the entire Sangha enter Nirodha Samapatti, the attainment of cessation, a state so profound that even perception and feeling temporarily cease. While his disciples gather food each morning and return to pay respects, Sarada remains fixed, his body still, his heart ablaze with devotion. This isn't mere ritual. It's an offering charged with punna, made not for heavenly rebirth but for something far greater.
This scene appears in the Abhidhamma and is echoed in the Dhammapada commentary. Note, Nirodha Samapatti is not sleep, not trance, it is the culmination of advanced meditative mastery accessible only to non-returners and arahants. Yet Sarada, still a worldling, stands witness his punna ripening in silence.
Why one heart was left behind. On the 7th day the Buddha emerges. He asks Nisabhathera, his right-hand chief disciple, to give an Anumadana, a blessing discourse. Nisabha speaks with the authority of one who has pierced the 16 doubts. Then Anumathera, the left-hand chief, teaches the entire Tipitaka in essence, sublime, profound, yet not one ascetic attains awakening. Then Anumadasi Buddha himself teaches. Instantly, 84,000 attain arahantship, all except Sarada. Why? Because in that moment, Sarada wasn't seeking release. He was captivated by Nibbāna, the second highest seat, the voice that turned the Dhammacakka. A single thought arose: may I become such a chief disciple in the time of a future Buddha. So powerful was this aspiration that it eclipsed the path fruit.
This is critical. In Buddhist cosmology, aspiration Parinibbana, when backed by immense punna and perfected paramis, can override immediate liberation, not out of delusion, but out of strategic compassion. Sarada chose delayed freedom to serve a future Buddha more fully.
The prophecy that names Sāriputta. Sarada approaches the Buddha. Who is that bhikkhu beside you? The answer changes history. He proclaims the Dhammacakka. He has pierced 16 doubts. He is my chief disciple. Sarada made this vow: I do not seek the throne of Indra, nor the realm of Brahma. My wish is to become the chief disciple of a future Buddha. Anamadasi, using his Anagattam Sanyana, knowledge of future events, sees clearly, after 100,000 eons, Gautama will arise, his mother, Mahamaya, his father Suddhodana, his son Rahula, his attendant Ananda, his second chief disciple, Moggallana, and you, Sarada, you shall become Sāriputta, the chief disciple foremost in wisdom, just as you aspired, through your great punna. The friend who said yes, Sarada doesn't keep this to himself. He sends a message and then appears instantly at his childhood friend Sarivaja's door. At first, Sarivaja hesitates, but I have no connection to the Buddha. Sarada's reply is simple: make one. So Sarivaja, the wealthiest man in his land, built a grand pavilion and offered food to the entire Sangha for 7 days. At that time, the Sangha numbered around 100,000 arahants, with the Buddha himself presiding. On the final day, having fulfilled this supreme act of dana, Sarivaja made this solemn vow: I do not seek the throne of Indra, nor the realm of Brahma. My wish is to become the second chief disciple of that same future Buddha, whom my friend Sarada aspires to serve. That friend would become Sāriputta. He himself would become Moggallana. Their bond, forged in great punna and mutual encouragement, would one day anchor the early Sangha in wisdom and psychic power, guiding countless beings toward liberation.
From Sarushi to Dhammasanapati. Later in this current dispensation, Venerable Sāriputta confirms, I was once Sarushi. The name varies, but the being is one. After his death as Sarada Sarushi, he was reborn 1,000 times in Brahma realms, 1,000 times as a wheel-turning monarch, 1,000 times as Saka. All fruits of that 7 days stand beneath the parasol. And in this life, born to a Brahmin family of 560 kotis of wealth, he ordains and within 2 weeks attains arahantship. The Buddha names him Dhammasanapati, general of the Dhamma army, as declared in the Sela Sutta.
But Sāriputta wasn't just wise. He cared deeply for the future of the Dhamma. In the Mahavibhanga, he asks the Buddha, why do some dispensations vanish quickly? The answer: without Vinaya, without training rules, the teachings scatter like untied flowers in the wind. He pleads, establish the Patimokka now. But the Buddha replies, wait, the Tathagata knows the right time. But Sāriputta wasn't wise only in doctrine. He cared deeply for the long life of the Dhamma. In the Mahavibhanga, seeing how some past dispensations faded soon after their Buddhas passed away, he asked the Buddha with great discernment, Lord, why do the teachings of some Tathagatas not endure? The Buddha replied, when there is no Vinaya, no training rules laid down, the Dhamma scatters like flowers dropped from an untied garland. Understanding this, Sāriputta did not plead out of anxiety. Instead, with clarity and foresight, he laid the foundation for what would become the Patimokka by suggesting, then may the Blessed One establish the disciplinary code now, so the Sangha may dwell in harmony. The Buddha, knowing the perfect time and conditions, responded, do not worry, Sāriputta. The Tathagata knows the right moment and the right person to establish the Patimokka. Indeed, the duty of preserving the Vinaya was never meant to rest on the Buddha alone. Every Buddha's chief disciple passes away before the Buddha, Sāriputta included, so another must carry the living memory of the teachings. That role belonged to Ananda, who through his unparalleled retention and presence at every discourse, became the key witness at the first council. After the Buddha's Parinibbana, it was under the leadership of the Sangha, guided by Mahakassapa, and with Ananda reciting the suttas, that the Pali Canon was formally compiled, and later the commentaries arose to illuminate its meaning. For as the tradition affirms, without the Atthakatha, even the words of the Canon remain difficult to fathom in full depth. Thus, Sāriputta's question was not a request for immediate action, but a seed planted in wisdom, knowing that the Dhamma's endurance depends not on one being, but on the collective punna, mindfulness and continuity of the Sangha across generations.
This story reminds us punna is not passive positive currency or positive energy. It is active readiness built through generosity, restraint, and wise aspiration. Sarada could have attained arahantship then, but he chose to wait to serve beings yet unborn.
So the next time you hold an offering, listen to a Dhamma talk, or encourage a friend on the path, remember you too may be planting seeds for a role in a future Buddhism, not for glory, but for the sake of those who will one day hear the Dhamma because someone like you stood unmoving beneath the parasol of faith.
The wisdom that held the Dhamma together, Sāriputta, Vinaya, and the right time. The Buddha did not create rules out of fear or control. He waited patiently, wisely, until defilements arose in the Sangha. Only then did the Vinaya emerge, like medicine prescribed when illness appears. This profound timing is recorded in the Mahavibhanga of the Vinaya Pitaka. And at the heart of this story stands Venerable Sāriputta, not just as a witness, but as the one who asked the question that revealed the Dhamma's enduring architecture.
Imagine a Sangha so pure that every single bhikkhu, even the newest, was already a stream enterer. No gossip, no greed, no pride, just 500 awakened hearts walking the path together. In such a world, why would you need rules? Today, we'll see why the Buddha said wait and how Sāriputta's wisdom helped ensure the Dhamma would survive long after the last Arahant passed away. In the earliest days, the Buddha taught only the Dhamma, no patimokkha, no detailed training rules. Why? Because the Sangha then was composed entirely of beings of great punna, stream enterers, once returners, non-returners, and arahants. Though their numbers were vast, they were harmonious, pure in conduct, and free from defiling tendencies, asava dhamma. As the texts state, as long as unwholesome states have not arisen in the Sangha, the Tathagata does not lay down training rules. But the Buddha, with full knowledge of cosmic history, once explained to Sāriputta why some dispensations vanish quickly, even when the Buddha lives tens of thousands of years. He spoke of the ancient Buddhas, Vipassi, Sikhi, and Vesabu. Their lifespans were immense, 80,000, 70,000, and 60,000 years respectively, yet their teachings faded soon after their parinibbanas. Why? Because they taught the Dhamma in broad outline, but did not establish a formal Vinaya. Without binding discipline, their dispensations scattered like loose flowers in the wind, gone the moment the last noble disciple passed away. In contrast, the Buddhas Kakusanda, Konagamana, and Kassapa, though living far shorter lives, less than 80,000 years, saw their Dhamma endure for generations. Why? Because among their disciples arose those who aspired to preserve the teaching, wise ones who requested, supported, and later upheld the Vinaya. They bound the Dhamma with discipline, like tying flowers into a garland, so the wind cannot scatter them. Our Buddha, Gautama, lived only 80 years, the shortest lifespan of any Buddha in this aeon. Yet he declared his dispensation would stand for 5,000 years. How is this possible? Not by miracle, but by design. Through the collective punna of disciples like Sāriputta, Moggallana, Mahakassapa, and especially Ananda, the faithful attendant who heard every word. After the Buddha's passing, it was the Sangha itself, led by elder arahants at the first council, that compiled the Pali Canon and codified the Vinaya, ensuring the Dhamma would be transmitted intact. Now more than 2,500 years have passed since the Parinibbana. We stand at the midpoint of this rare 5-millennium window, a time when the Dhamma still shines clearly, when the Vinaya still holds, and when encountering the true path remains possible. This is not by chance. It is the fruit of past punna and the responsibility of the present.
This isn't speculation. It's in the Samanapasadika, the great Vinaya commentary, and the Buddha gave a striking simile. To impose rules before faults arise is like a physician cutting open a healthy man to remove a boil that doesn't exist. The patient bleeds and gains nothing. Rules aren't punishment, they are protection, but only when needed.
Sāriputta, the Dhamma prince, Sāriputta wasn't just wise, he was strategically wise. The Buddha compared him to a crown prince. Just as a royal heir must know statecraft, justice, timing, and diplomacy, Sāriputta possessed 5 Dhamma qualities. Atha knew. He knew what truly matters: causality, Nibbāna, karma, and meaning. Dhamma knew. He saw the entire structure of the teachings from the Eightfold Path to wholesome and unwholesome states. Metta knew. He used robes, food, shelter, and medicine with perfect moderation. Never excess, never neglect. Kala knew. He knew when to teach, when to meditate, when to wander. Parisa knew. He could speak to kings, farmers, monks, or devas, and meet each with perfect clarity.
These aren't poetic metaphors. They're from the Anguttara Nikaya and its commentary, the Manaratha Purani. and they explain why Sāriputta alone could systematize the Dhamma without distortion.
Mother of the stream, general of the Dhamma, the Buddha once said, Sāriputta is like a mother, he gives birth to stream entry in others. Moggallana is like a nurse, he nurtures them to full awakening. And only Sāriputta, the Buddha declared, could fully explain the Four Noble Truths. Not partially, not symbolically, fully. His wisdom was so sharp, he once told the Buddha, I could count every raindrop falling during an eon-long storm. The Buddha didn't rebuke him, he affirmed it. Another time Sāriputta said, even if all the sand in the Ganges vanished, my answers to Dhamma questions would not run out.
This isn't hyperbole, it's recorded in the Dhammapada commentary. And in the Anapada Sutta, the Buddha called him born of my mouth, born of Dhamma, heir to Dhamma, the highest honor possible for a disciple. He was also the ideal emissary, calm under pressure, persuasive, quick to learn, and skilled in avoiding disputes, 8 qualities praised in the Duddha Sutta of the Anguttara Nikaya.
The first Sangiti saving the Dhamma from fragmentation. One night in Pava, the Buddha's back ached from teaching. He turned to Sāriputta and said, I am weary, teach the Sangha in my place. What followed was historic. Sāriputta delivered the Sangiti Sutta, the first great synthesis of the Dhamma. He organized everything into 10 categories. 1s, 2s, 3s, up to 10s. 1s, all beings live dependent on food. 2s, name and form, ignorance and craving. 10s, the 10 wholesome actions, the 10 powers of a Buddha, the 10 abodes of the Arahant. 204 precise groupings, no overlap, no contradiction, a living map of liberation.
When the Buddha emerged, he said, Sadhu, Sadhu, you have well recited the Sangiti Pariyaya. This wasn't mere praise. It was formal endorsement of Sāriputta's role as Dhamma organizer, a function critical to preserving the sasana across centuries. Immediately after, Sāriputta gave the Dasuttara Sutta, focusing not just on theory but on the path to Nibbāna itself.
Abhidhamma, guidance and humility. Lord Sāriputta was also the first to receive the Abhidhamma directly from the Buddha after the Buddha descended from Tavatimsa heaven. In the Kandana Grove near Anuttata Lake, he learned the ultimate analysis of mind and matter and then taught it to 500 disciples. That transmission continues today. And when bhikkhus prepared to leave the Buddha's presence, the Blessed One often said, go take leave of Sāriputta. Why? Because Sāriputta would tell them, our teacher teaches one thing, abandon craving for the 5 aggregates. Simple, direct, complete. Even with forest monks he emphasized humility. In the Golyani Sutta he warned, don't let your solitary practice become pride. Respect the Sangha even if you dwell alone.
Lord Sāriputta's greatness wasn't in miracles or charisma. It was in precision, timing, and compassionate foresight. He saw that without Vinaya, the Dhamma scatters. Without structure, it fades. Without wisdom rooted in punna, it becomes noise.
So the next time you hear a Dhamma talk, read a sutta, or follow a precept, remember, someone stood in the right place at the right time with the right aspiration, so you could hear it today.
Lord Sāriputta, wisdom, integrity, and the heart of the Sangha. In the Buddha's time, 2 chief disciples stood like twin pillars of the Dhamma, Moggallana, foremost in psychic power, and Sāriputta, foremost in wisdom. But Sāriputta's greatness wasn't just in insight, it was in how he lived it. From guarding the Vinaya with unshakable integrity, to correcting dangerous wrong views, to inspiring entire cities to give with wisdom, his life reveals what it means to embody the Dhamma fully. Today we explore 5 moments that show why the Buddha trusted him completely, and why his voice still echoes like
the guardian of pure livelihood. Imagine being so ill your body feels like it might break apart. Now imagine refusing the very medicine that could heal you, because accepting it would blur the line between right and wrong livelihood. That's exactly what Sāriputta did. While living in the forest with Moggallana, Sāriputta fell gravely ill with a wind disorder. He mentioned to his friend that, as a householder, he'd once recovered from the same illness after eating a special medicinal gruel. A tree deity overheard and, out of compassion, arranged for the gruel to be offered the next morning. But when Moggallana brought it back, Sāriputta refused. Why? Because the offering arose from Vasivinyati verbal suggestion. In other words, the food came not through spontaneous generosity, but because someone had talked about needing it. For Sāriputta that crossed a line. He said, even if my bowels spilled out, I would not eat food obtained through such means. And at the very moment the gruel was discarded, his illness vanished. Not by magic, but by the power of punna rooted in unwavering purity. This wasn't austerity for its own sake. It was protection of the Sangha's integrity, the very foundation of trust between monastics and lay people.
correcting the fear of annihilation.
Another time, a monk named Yamaka claimed, when an arahant dies, he's completely annihilated. This sounds like liberation, but it's actually a trap. It assumes there's a self that gets destroyed. And that's annihilationism, one of the Buddha's most serious warnings. Other monks couldn't convince Yamaka, so they went to Sāriputta. Instead of arguing, he asked gentle, precise questions. Is form permanent? Is feeling? Are any of the 5 aggregates truly you? Step by step, Yamaka saw everything that makes up experience is impermanent, unsatisfactory, and not self. Then Sāriputta asked, if you can't find the Tathagata in the aggregates or outside them, how can you say he's annihilated at death? Yamaka's wrong view collapsed. He realized the question itself was based on a false assumption. And in that clarity, he attained direct realization. Sāriputta didn't just correct a belief, he freed a mind.
The Buddha's trust and the moon simile.
At Nalakapana village, on a full moon Upasatha night, the Buddha had been teaching late into the night. The Sangha was exhausted. So the Buddha turned to Sāriputta and said, teach them, I will rest. Think about that. The Buddha, the fully awakened one, chose to rest while Sāriputta taught. That's ultimate trust. And what did Sāriputta teach? A simple, beautiful simile, the moon. He said, just as the moon wanes when it loses light, a monk who lacks faith, shame, fear of wrongdoing, energy, and wisdom will decline spiritually. But just as the moon waxes, growing brighter and fuller, a monk who cultivates these qualities grows in virtue, concentration, and wisdom every single day. When the Buddha awoke, he didn't add anything. He simply said, sadhu, sadhu, well done, and repeated the exact same teaching. That's how perfect it was.
Eating with righteousness.
One morning in Rājagaha, a female wanderer named Sona challenged Sāriputta. Why do you eat bowing your head? She was testing him, implying he might be using divination or astrology to choose auspicious directions for eating, as some ascetics did. Sāriputta replied calmly, I don't eat bowing my head, or lifting it, or facing east or west. Confused, she asked, then how do you eat? He explained, some samanas earn their food through wrong livelihood, reading land features, stars, or body signs. But I receive alms only through righteous means in full accordance with the Dhamma. Sona was so moved, she went through the city declaring, give to the Sakyan Samana. He seeks nothing but what is pure. His integrity didn't just protect his own practice, it inspired others to see the beauty of right livelihood.
The fruit of collective generosity.
Lord Sāriputta didn't just teach monks, he transformed communities. Once in Rājagaha, after receiving an offering, he gave a blessing discourse on 3 kinds of givers. One who gives alone, without encouraging others, gains wealth, but no companions. One who gives nothing and discourages others, is reborn in poverty and isolation. But one who gives and inspires others to give, they gain both wealth and loyal companions for lifetimes. A wise layman heard this and immediately invited Sāriputta and his 1,000 bhikkhus for a meal. But instead of bearing the cost alone, he went door to door. How many can you support? People responded. We'll feed 10. We'll feed 50. Together they cooked in one place, oil, rice, milk, honey, all offered with joy. This wasn't just charity, it was punna multiplied through shared intention. And it all began with one teaching on wise giving.
Lord Sāriputta wasn't just wise, he was wisdom in action. He guarded the Vinaya not out of rigidity, but out of love for the Dhamma's purity. He corrected wrong views not with force, but with patient inquiry. He accepted the Buddha's trust not as honor, but as duty, and he inspired generosity not by asking, but by showing how giving, when done with understanding, becomes a river of punna that nourishes many. In a world hungry for authenticity, Sāriputta's life remains a beacon. True greatness lies not in what you know, but in how you live it.
May we all cultivate the clarity of Sāriputta, the compassion of the Buddha, and the generosity that binds Sangha and laity in mutual care.
Sāriputta, the unshaken heart of patience and humility. In the Buddha's dispensation, wisdom must be matched by humility, and no one embodied that balance more perfectly than Sāriputta. He was the general of the Dhamma, yet slept under a tree when denied shelter. He was the Buddha's right-hand disciple, yet forgave those who struck him. He taught thousands, yet accepted scolding from his own mother without a word. Today we explore how Sāriputta's patience wasn't passive endurance, but active mastery of the mind, rooted in liberation itself, denied shelter, yet unmoved.
When the Buddha and Sangha traveled to Vesali, Sāriputta arrived to find every lodging taken not by accident but by design. The disciples of the Chabagya bhikkhus, known for their arrogance, had seized all the shelters ahead of time. With nowhere to stay, Sāriputta didn't complain. He didn't assert his status as the chief disciple. He simply sat at the foot of a tree near the Buddha's dwelling and spent the night in silence. At dawn, the Buddha saw him there and asked gently, "Why are you here, Sāriputta?" When he explained, the Buddha was deeply moved, not just by the injustice, but by what it revealed about the future of the Sangha. That morning he gathered the monks and asked, "By what standard should lodgings be given?" Some said, "To former kings," others, "To arahants." But the Buddha declared, "In this Dhamma Vinaya, seniority in ordination, vasa is honored, not caste, not past wealth, not even spiritual attainment." To drive the point home, he told a past life story. 3 animals, a partridge, monkey, and elephant, lived near a rose apple tree. They asked, "Who is eldest?" The partridge said, "I dropped the seed that grew this tree." And so the monkey and elephant bowed to him, not out of fear, but respect for what came first. If animals honor seniority, the Buddha said, how much more should monks? From that day, a rule was established, ensuring humility, not hierarchy, would guide the Sangha.
The Uposatha declaration, purity confirmed it.
On another full moon Uposatha night, the Buddha asked the entire Sangha, "Do any of you see fault in my conduct in body or speech?" Sāriputta rose and replied with deep reverence, "No, Lord, you have revealed the path where none existed. We follow behind with confidence." Then, with equal humility, he turned the question back, "Does the Blessed One find fault in us?" The Buddha smiled and called him Dhammasenapati, general of the Dhamma, and confirmed, "Among these 500 bhikkhus I find no fault. 60 have the 3 knowledges, 60 the 6 higher knowledges, 60 are liberated in both ways, and the rest, by wisdom alone." This wasn't just praise, it was public affirmation that the Sangha, guided by elders like Sāriputta, was walking the path correctly. And it showed something rare, a teacher and student, fully trusting each other, each seeing the other's purity with unclouded eyes.
Struck on the back and still forgiving.
Once, a Brahmana heard people say, "Sāriputta never gets angry even if insulted or hit." Skeptical, he decided to test it. The next morning, as Sāriputta walked on alms round, the man crept up behind him and struck him hard on the back. Sāriputta didn't flinch, didn't turn, didn't speak, he just kept walking. But the Brahmana, his heart shattered with remorse, he ran ahead, fell at Sāriputta's feet and begged forgiveness. Sāriputta asked gently, "What happened?" "I hit you to test your patience," the man confessed. "I forgive you," Sāriputta said. Overjoyed, the Brahmana invited him home for a meal. But when the townspeople heard what he'd done, they gathered with sticks and stones, ready to punish him. As Sāriputta left the house, they shouted, "Don't let him walk with you. Make him face justice." Calmly, Sāriputta asked, "Did he strike you or me?" "You, venerable sir." "Then since I have forgiven him, why do you still hold anger? He has been released by the one he wronged. Go home in peace." In that moment, Sāriputta didn't just show patience, he stopped a cycle of violence with a single sentence.
Scolded by his own mother.
Even closer to home, Sāriputta faced harsh words from his own mother. Returning to his birthplace, Nalaka, with 500 bhikkhus, he went on alms round at her door. She prepared food, but as she offered it, she lashed out. "You threw away 560 kotas of wealth. You've disgraced our family. You don't even deserve rice-wash water." She called him unworthy, not just of food, but of human dignity. Yet Sāriputta accepted the meal with perfect composure. No sigh, no glance of hurt, nothing. Later, Rahula reported this to the Buddha, who said, "One who has eradicated the asavas, the taints, does not give rise to anger." And then he recited a verse from the Dhammapada. The Tathagata calls him a Brahmana, who is free from anger, whose body is utterly purified. True nobility, the Buddha reminded us, isn't in birth, but in the absence of ill will.
Lord Sāriputta's greatness wasn't in miracles or displays of power. It was in sleeping under a tree when ignored, in forgiving a blow meant to provoke, in receiving his mother's scorn with silent grace. These weren't acts of weakness, they were expressions of complete freedom. Because when the mind is liberated from greed, hatred, and delusion, patience isn't practiced, it simply is. In a world quick to react, quick to blame, quick to demand respect, Sāriputta stands as a quiet reminder. True strength lies in restraint, true honor in humility, and true punna in letting go.
May we cultivate the unshaken heart of Sāriputta, patient, pure, and free.
The unshaken mind, when even demons tremble. In the quiet hours of a moonlit night near Rājagaha, 2 two of the Buddha's greatest disciples dwelled together in retreat, a golden-hued sage named Sāriputta and his close friend Mahamoggallana, whose presence glowed like a blue lotus under starlight. Their dwelling, the Kapotakanu Vihara, the cave of the pigeons, a rocky hill once filled with nesting birds, now echoing with silence and virtue. But that night, something unexpected happened, something that revealed not only the depth of a noble one's mind, but the terrifying speed of karmic consequence. This is the story from the Udana, in the Megiyavaga, known as the Dula Sutta, a teaching born not from words but from silence.
Picture this. It's the bright fortnight. The moon is full, casting soft light over an open field just outside Veluvana Monastery. No trees, no shelter, just earth, sky, and stillness. There sits Venerable Sattwita freshly shaven, deep in meditation. His mind is so calm, so absorbed, that even the rustle of leaves might go unnoticed. Meanwhile, high above, two yakas, spirit beings, are traveling north to south on some unseen errand. They spot him below, glowing with inner peace. One yaka is cruel, restless, driven by malice. The other, wise, cautious, reverent. The cruel one says, "I'll strike this samana on the head." His friend warns him not once, not twice, but 3 times. "Don't, this is no ordinary monk. He is rare in the world, one of great punna and spiritual power." But the wicked yaka ignores him and strikes.
The force of that blow? So immense the texts say it could have shattered a mountain peak or sent a 7-cubit tall elephant crashing into the earth. Yet Sāriputta didn't flinch, didn't cry out, didn't even open his eyes. Why? Because his mind was like solid rock, unmoved by harm, untouched by craving, undisturbed by joy or sorrow. This wasn't mere endurance. It was the fruit of lifetimes of perfected savakaparami, disciple perfections cultivated over an incalculable eon plus 100,000 great eons. Both he and Mahamoggallana had attained the 6 higher knowledges, Abhidhamma, and the 4 analytical knowledges, Patisambhida. They were not just monks, they were spiritual titans walking among humans.
Aftermath, instantly, the cruel yaka screamed, "I'm burning, I'm falling into Avitsi Mahani Raya." And just like that, the earth split open beneath him. Flames rose from the great Avitsi hell, and he sank while still in his yaka form. This was Dichatama Vidaniya Kama that ripens in this very life, not after death, now. And because of Upatiṣya Vidaniya Kama, he will be reborn there again, facing more suffering in the next life too. Harming a noble one isn't just unwise, it brings immediate severe consequences. The Dhamma is precise, intention matters, and so does the object of that intention.
Mahamoggallana's concern.
From afar, Mahamoggallana saw everything through his purified divine eye, Dibakakua. He rushed to Sāriputta and asked gently, "Friend, this body with its 4 wheels and 9 doors, is it holding up?" By 4 wheels he meant the limbs. 9 doors refers to the 2 eyes, 2 ears, 2 nostrils, mouth, and 2 lower openings. Sāriputta replied calmly, "It's fine, only a slight ache in the head." Mahamoggallana was awestruck. "You have such immense spiritual power. That blow could have crushed a mountain, and you call it a slight ache?" Sāriputta smiled and said, "I didn't even see the dust devils playing nearby." His concentration was so deep, the outer world had vanished.
The Buddha's verse. At that moment, the Buddha seated in Veluvana heard their conversation through his divine ear, Dibbasota, far beyond human range. Moved by what had transpired, he uttered an inspired verse, an Udana,
"Whose mind is like solid rock, unshaken, free from craving, unmoved by joy, unangered by harm. How could suffering ever reach such a one?" This isn't poetry, it's a map, a description of the liberated mind, untouchable by the world's arrows, whether physical or emotional.
Sāriputta's own words.
In the Theragatha, Sandiputa himself described how a bhikkhu should live. Eat lightly, stop 4 or 5 morsels before fullness. Wear robes only for protection against cold, heat, insects, and for modesty. To dwell alone, content, seeing pleasure as suffering, a thorn in the flesh. Never linger in Dhamma as if it were comfort, but walk the path that leads directly to Nibbāna. And most importantly, may those who point out my faults like revealing hidden treasure dwell even upon my very head. True humility, true wisdom.
This story isn't about supernatural violence. It's about the power of an unshaken mind and the danger of acting with ill will toward those who embody the Dhamma. Punna protects, not as a shield of magic, but as the natural result of wholesome action, which aligns one with truth, clarity, and safety. And Kama? It's not fate, it's law, precise, immediate, just. In a world where anger strikes blindly, may we remember, even demons recognize true virtue and tremble before it.
May the qualities of the Buddha wisdom, compassion, and unshakable peace illuminate our hearts. May we never act from malice. May we honor those who walk the path, and may our own punna grow strong enough to carry us toward liberation.
The last bow, Sāriputta's final gift in the twilight of his life. Venerable Sāriputta, the Buddha's general of the Dhamma, did not seek miracles, visions, or divine powers. Instead, he chose silence beneath a tree, gratitude toward his mother, and one final teaching for the Sangha. His last words were not a farewell, but a call to awakening. This is drawn from his final declaration, the Dhammapada commentary and the great commentary Sārattapakasini and Sumangalavilasini, a portrait of liberation, loyalty, and perfect heedfulness. Final words.
Beneath the shade of a tree, freshly shaven and robed in saffron, Sāriputta sat in deep stillness. He had no interest in supernatural attainments, no desire to recall past lives, read minds, or see rebirths. Why? Because he was already free from the taints of avas, from craving, from all bonds. He said, I do not rejoice in death. I do not rejoice in life. Like a hired laborer waiting for the day's end, I await the laying down of this body, mindful, composed. And then came his final instruction. Practice diligently. Do not let the moment pass unused. Guard yourselves as one guards a frontier city, internally and externally. Let heedfulness be fulfilled. With that he declared, Now I will enter Parinibbana. I am utterly free from all defilements and sensual bonds.
The heart of gratitude.
Lord Sāriputta was known as the foremost among those who know gratitude, Katanyu Katavadi. From the moment he heard the Dhamma from Venerable Asaji and attained stream entry, he never forgot his teacher. Every time he learned where Asaji was staying, he would bow in that direction before any other act of reverence. Some monks misunderstood, he's worshipping directions, they said, but when the Buddha asked him, Sāriputta replied simply, Lord, I bow not to directions, but to Venerable Asaji, my teacher. The Buddha then taught the Sangha, just as Brahmanas revere fire, disciples should revere their true teachers. Gratitude in the Dhamma is not emotion, it's wisdom recognizing its source.
A spoonful of alms food.
Once an elderly Brahmana wished to ordain, but no monk would accept him, saying he was too old. Sāriputta remembered, years ago this man had offered him a single spoonful of alms food during his early days in Rājagaha. Out of deep gratitude, Sāriputta ordained him himself. Even the smallest kindness, when met with a grateful heart, becomes sacred.
The greatest gift.
But his highest act of gratitude, guiding his own mother, Sāribramani, who at first held wrong views and had no faith in the triple gem. Knowing his time was short, Sāriputta returned to Nalaka village, the place of his birth. With patience and skillful means, he taught her the Dhamma. Yet her heart remained veiled by ignorance. That very night, something extraordinary occurred. Sari saw with her own eyes a radiant assembly descend from the heavens. Brahma himself, the king of the Devas, and countless Devas, beings of immense power and splendor, approaching her son with reverence. They bowed, they knelt, their crowns lowered before him. In that moment, her ignorance shattered. How can it be, she wondered, that even the highest gods, beings I once worshipped as supreme, now bow before my son? Then surely he has attained something far greater than any god. Her heart opened, she listened deeply to the Dhamma, and through this combination of her son's compassion and the awe-inspiring sight of celestial homage, she abandoned wrong view and gained unshakable faith, akala sada in the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. This was Sāriputta's final offering, not robes, not chants, but the gift of right understanding, the greatest debt repaid, not with service, but with truth. The mother of Lord Sāriputta attained stream entry, Satapati.
The decision to depart after the rain's retreat. The Buddha returned to Jetavana Monastery in Savatthi. Sāriputta paid his respects, then retired to his dwelling. He swept the floor, spread his mat, washed his feet, and entered deep absorption, phala samapati. Upon emerging, a thought arose. Which passes first, the Buddha or a chief disciple? He saw clearly. A chief disciple goes before the teacher. Then he examined his own lifespan and knew 7 days remain. He recalled how Aññā Kondañña passed by Kandana Lake, how Rahula departed in Tavatinsa. But his heart turned to his mother. She gave birth to 7 arahants, yet still lacks faith. If I leave without teaching her, others will say, he freed countless devas, but not his own mother. So he resolved, I will guide her to stream entry and attain Parinibbana in the very room where I was born. The last obeisance.
He called his younger brother Kunda. Gather our 500 disciples. Prepare bowls and robes. We return to Nalaka. Before leaving, he swept his dwelling once more, stood at the doorway, and thought, "This is the last time I shall see this place. I will not return." Then, leading 500 bhikkhus, he approached the Buddha and bowed deeply. "Venerable Sir, my lifespan is exhausted. My life remains for only 7 days. I request permission to attain Parinibbana."
The Buddha's silence.
The Buddha did not say go or stay. Why? Because if he said go, wrong-viewed people might claim the Buddha praises death. If he said stay, they might say the Buddha clings to samsara. So instead, he asked gently, "Sāriputta, where will you attain Parinibbana?" Sāriputta replied, "In the chamber where I was born in my mother's home." The Buddha granted permission and added, "Teach the Sangha first. It is rare to witness a disciple like you. Let them benefit from your final words."
Reflection. Lord Sāriputta's final journey was not about death, it was about completion. He had served the teacher, uprooted craving, fulfilled gratitude, and left behind not relics, but a living example, that even the wisest among us bow to our teachers, that even the liberated care for their mothers, and that every moment, until the very last, is an opportunity for heedfulness.
May we honor those who show us the path. May we never waste this precious human life. And may we, like Lord Sāriputta, lay down this body not with fear or longing, but with peace, gratitude, and perfect freedom.
Lord Sāriputta's final ascent at Jetavana Monastery in Savatthi, beneath the shadow of the Gandhakutsi, the Buddha's fragrant chamber, a moment unfolded that shook the earth and stirred the heavens. Venerable Sāriputta, the Dhammasenapati, was about to take his final leave, but first he offered one last act of devotion, not in words but in light, in motion, in power made visible. This is the story of the Annihilationism, a discourse so profound even Mahabrahma bowed before its speaker. The aerial homage.
With deep reverence, Sāriputta rose into the air, just high enough to clear one tala tree, and descended to bow at the Buddha's feet. Then again to 2 trees, 3, 4, up to 7. Each time he returned silent and humble, touching his forehead to the ground before the Blessed One. Hundreds of such bows, not out of ritual, but out of love, out of fulfillment. For this was no ordinary disciple. This was the one who long ago had knelt before Anamadasi Buddha and vowed, "May I meet a future, fully awakened one, and serve him with all my being." That vow, now complete. Then Sāriputta began to teach, and as he spoke, the impossible became visible. His form shimmered, now like the moon, cool and luminous, now like the sun, blazing with wisdom, then like a mountain, unmoving, or the ocean, deep and boundless. He appeared as a universal monarch, as Vesavana, as Saka, even as Mahabrahma, not to boast, but to show. All forms are empty, only Dhamma is real. He made the invisible visible, the workings of Kama, the flow of rebirth, the stillness beyond becoming. When he finished, the Buddha asked, "Sāriputta, what is the name of this discourse?" He replied, "Annihilationism." The Buddha smiled, "Well said, indeed it is rightly named."
The final bow.
Then Sāriputta took the Buddha's foot golden smooth in his hands, spoke of gratitude. "For the sake of bowing at these feet, I have perfected punna over 1 incalculable aeon and 100,000 great aeons. My aspiration is fulfilled. There will be no more meeting with you through rebirth. I now enter the crystal city of Nibbāna, deathless, fearless, ageless peace." The Buddha replied, "Nothing you have done has ever displeased me."
The earth trembles.
The moment those words were spoken, the earth shook, not gently, violently, as if saying, "I cannot bear the weight of Lord Sāriputta's virtue." Celestial drums echoed in the sky, fragrant flowers rained down, dark clouds gathered, not in sorrow but in awe. The Buddha stepped onto the jeweled terrace before the Gandhakutsi and gave silent permission. Let him display his power one last time.
The farewell procession.
The entire fourfold assembly, monks, nuns, laymen, laywomen, followed Lord Sāriputta out of Jetavana. Only the Buddha remained behind. The people of Savatthi poured into the streets, weeping, "Who will answer our questions now? Who will receive our offerings?" Lord Sāriputta turned and said gently, "Do not grieve. All conditioned things are impermanent. This path ends for all." Still they followed until he reminded them once more, "Practice diligently. Do not let this moment pass unused."
Return to Nalaka.
For 7 days he traveled 1 day's distance each day, resting only at night until he reached Nalaka village, his birthplace. Beneath a banyan tree near his mother's home, he sent word through his nephew, "I wish to stay in the room where I was born, and need lodging for 500 monks. His mother, Sari, puzzled but dutiful, prepared everything. She wondered, has he grown weary of the holy life? But no, he had come for one final purpose, to repay the deepest debt.
The illness and the deva visitors.
Soon, a severe illness arose, Pakundika Abhidha, a hemorrhagic affliction, causing intense suffering. Yet when the 4 great Deva kings came to offer healing, he declined. I am already well attended. Then Saka, king of God, arrived. Then Soiminda Tusita, Sunimita, and finally Mahabrahma, supreme being, above God himself, each more radiant than the last. To all the same reply, I am well attended. From her doorway, Sari watched in awe. Who were these beings bowing to her son?
The turning point.
She asked Kunda, who were they? He encouraged her, go speak with your son. So she entered and asked, Upatiṣya, were those the 4 great Deva kings? Yes, he said, and after them Saka, king of God. Yes, and that blazing light, was that Mahabrahma, being above God? Yes. Then, are you greater than Mahabrahma? Yes, mother. Even Mahabrahma is not a master, but a devoted follower, a humble servant of the Buddha.
The awakening of faith.
At that moment, piti rapture and samanasa joy arose in Sari's heart. She thought, if my son is honored by Deva kings and Mahabrahma, what must his teacher be like? Sariputta, perceiving this shift, asked gently, Mother, what are you thinking? And in that question, the door to stream entry opened, not through miracles, not through fear, but through gratitude, wonder, and the dawning of right view.
Lord Sariputta's final journey was not an end, it was a completion. He showed that true power lies not in psychic feats, but in humility before the teacher. That liberation is not escape, but fulfillment of duty, gratitude, and truth. And that even in the face of death, the greatest gift we can give is to guide another toward the Dhamma. Final blessing.
May we honor our teachers with grateful hearts. May we never waste this rare human life. And may we, like Lord Sariputta, walk our final steps, not in sorrow, but in peace, clarity, and perfect freedom.
The final gift, Sariputta's last teaching to his mothers. The final gift, Lord Sariputta's last teaching to his mother. In the Buddha's dispensation, 2 disciples stand above all others. Sariputta foremost in wisdom, and Moggallana foremost in psychic power. We recount not a miracle of mind, but a miracle of heart. How venerable Sariputta, on the eve of his passing, gave his mother the greatest gift possible, the deathless Dhamma, the mother's awakening.
It was late at night in Nalaka village. The great elder Sariputta had returned not as a world-renowned monk, but as a son coming home. In the quiet of his childhood room, he began to speak not of philosophy but of the Buddha himself. He told her how, at 4 sacred moments, the Buddha's birth, his renunciation, his enlightenment, and his first turning of the Dhamma wheel, the entire cosmos trembled. 10,000 world systems shook in reverence. Then he declared with unwavering certainty, there is no being anywhere in the realms of Devas, Mara, or Brahma, among ascetics, Brahmins, humans, or gods, who can equal the Blessed One in Sila, Samadhi, Panya, Vimutti, or the knowledge of liberation. And right there, listening to her son's words, the Brahmin lady Sari saw the truth. Her doubt shattered. She attained stream entry, becoming a noble disciple, freed forever from wrong view.
This moment fulfills a profound teaching. The highest way to repay one's parents is not with wealth or comfort, but with the Dhamma. As the Sammasambuddha himself said, giving someone the chance to see the truth is the ultimate act of gratitude. Lord Sariputta knew this and chose his final days to embody it. Emotion and regret.
But Sari's joy was mixed with sorrow. Looking at her son, she whispered, Upatiṣya, why did you wait until now to give your mother the deathless Dhamma? It's a question that echoes through time. How often do we delay sharing what truly matters? Yet even in her regret, her heart had already changed. She was no longer just a mother. She was an Upasica, a follower of the noble path.
The final harmony near dawn, Lord Sariputta summoned the 500 monks who had lived with him for 44 years. With humility, he asked forgiveness for any offense by body or speech. Their reply was unanimous. We have never been displeased. We follow you like a shadow. This mutual forgiveness, pure, unforced, complete, was the last act of harmony among noble ones before his final meditation, Parinibbana.
Then, covering his face with his robe, just as the Buddha had done at Kusinara, he lay on his right side. Step by step, he entered the progressive attainments, the 4 material jhanas, the 4 immaterial states, and finally, the cessation of perception and feeling. He emerged, reversed the path, and from the 4th jhana, entered an Upatiṣya Nibbāna, final liberation, with no residue left behind. At that very moment, dawn on the full moon of Kartika, the earth trembled, the cosmos bore witness.
Grief and tribute.
Sari awoke to silence. Touching her son's feet, she realized he was gone. Overcome, she wept. I'll never again offer robes in your name, never invite monks because of you, never build monasteries to honor you. But grief did not stop her devotion. She opened her treasury and ordered 500 golden pavilions and 500 relic shrines. And in the heavens, Saka, king of the Devas, commanded divine artisans to build another 1,000. 2,000 shrines, human and celestial, rose in honor of the Dhamma general.
Relics and the Buddha's response.
Venerable Kunda carried Sariputta's relics, bowl and robes to Jetavana. Out of reverence, he first approached Ananda, his preceptor, not the Buddha directly. When Ananda heard the news, he cried, "My body feels pierced by spears. The Dhamma no longer appears clear." But the Buddha responded not with consolation, but with truth. Ananda, did Sariputta take the aggregates of virtue, concentration, wisdom, liberation, and knowledge of liberation with him? No, Lord. Then what is there to grieve? Be islands unto yourselves. Let the Dhamma be your refuge.
The stupa as a field of punna.
The Buddha then held Sariputta's relics, pure as conch shell white, and praised him in 500 verses. He declared that a stupa be built at Jetavana not merely as tribute, but as an Agasava Kanusa Titana, a sacred place where future generations could recollect the chief disciples' qualities and cultivate faith, mindfulness, and wisdom. Such a site becomes a field of punna not because of gold or grandeur, but because it turns hearts toward the Dhamma.
Sariputta's life ended as it was lived, with wisdom, compassion, and perfect timing. His last breath taught his mother the path to freedom. His death became a lesson in impermanence, and his relics became seeds of punna for countless beings. In a world of loss, he showed us the greatest gift isn't staying, it's showing others how to let go and awaken.
May we, like Lord Sariputta, use our final moments not for ourselves, but to plant the seed of Dhamma in another's heart. May those who hear this story gain faith, clarity, and the courage to walk the path. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.